This week on Moulz and Mel at the Movies, we discuss the 1991 film Nothing But Trouble, directed by Dan Aykroyd and starring Chevy Chase, Demi Moore, Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, and featuring Digital Underground and Tupac in his first ever film role. A businessman and his friends are captured by a sadistic judge and his equally odd family in a bizarre mansion in the backwoods. This week on Moulz and Mel at the Movies, let's get into Nothing But Trouble.
That was fucking clean, brother. Yeah.
Welcome back, Moulz and Mel at the Movies. It's been a little over 6 months since we've been doing a movie review on this show, but this is the first mainline movie review we have done since season 4. So
I think that
Moulz and Mel at the Movies
gunshot.
returns.
It's a gunshot.
We are not in a film or soundtrack themed season. So once again, season 16 bringing another first.
We're doing it because we can. We can go to the movies whenever we want, you know? It doesn't have to be confined to a movie season or a special, month of October Patreon gimmick. Like, we can go to the fucking movies, as long as we have a good reason. And we do here tonight, we
have a very good reason tonight. This is not a reach.
No. The group that we will be covering shortly in a musical sense, they're in the film playing
Not
music.
only are they in the film, because that's a reach still.
I guess so, yeah. Good way
they perform the big single from this EP in the film.
They
and in
do.
fact, track 2 on this EP is also in the film.
It is. I mean, look. I'm glad we're doing the film because, sure, they're in it. That warrants us doing it. But even before they show up in the movie, okay, they made an already great movie better. And here's the thing, though. You sent me a YouTube video kind of contextualizing the release of this film and the buzz around it and the talk around it. I say that to say I know saying a great film might be controversial to people. Enough of you people and your weak constitutions and your aversions to true auteurs like Dan Aykroyd, okay? Because this shit is great to me. Tony the fucking Tiger, great to me.
Well, no. I mean, we're here on Moulz and Mel at the Movies, reviewing Nothing But Trouble. You want to kick it off with a little bit of rating situation?
Don't mind if I do, pal. I'm giving Nothing But Trouble a flat 8. I like it a lot.
Moulz and Mel connect. Flat 8. Ding me, baby. Now, going into this film, you had never, or going into this review, rather, you had never seen this film.
Never. I feel like it could be a false memory. It could not be. I feel like my dad may have mentioned this film to me before, either in the context of Digital Underground or just as a film he grew up with, This came out in 91, right?
Yes, this film came out in 1991.
Yeah, he would have been 16 years old. So sounds like he would have went to the movies to see this. I feel like we've done a few 90s movies now in Moulz and Mel the Movies.
Oh yeah.
This is yet another film to me that perfectly oozes the 90s je ne sais quoi. Okay?
Oh, definitely. This is a movie that I would say would only be made in the mid to late 80s and through the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not after 9/11.
Right. Because things get
real.
Well, yeah, in a societal sense,
movies
for sure.
become like more grounded.
I was gonna say there's a seriousness that takes over the film industry. Of course, you still have your fucking comedies. You got the fucking frat pack and all that shit. But like, this is so
film,
bad,
right?
shit.
It's what year did Beetlejuice come out? I think 89.
Let me see, Beetlejuice. Let me see, Beetlejuice. 1988.
88. Okay, so I feel like this movie is the long tail of the Beetlejuice influence. So Beetlejuice comes out in 1988, and we get movies like The Burbs with Tom Hanks. We get even, honestly, some of the more gonzo elements of this remind me of the Super Mario Brothers movie from, I think, 93 or 94, the live action one.
It's a bizarre, surreal sort of feeling.
Yes, the Flintstones movie as well with John Goodman and Rick Moranis. But this is more in the tradition of something like Beetlejuice, and definitely greenlit by Warner Brothers, in part due to Dan Aykroyd and in part due to the success of something like Beetlejuice. So we got a lot of movies, kind of like comedy horror movies like this.
The Ghostbusters of it all.
Ghostbusters was huge in the 80s, obviously. Trying to think, the Addams Family in the early 90s, those two live action movies with Paramount. So this was like one of many at the time. And we used to get movies like this a lot. I think in 94, I may have brought this movie up on the show. And this is another one that would play a lot on HBO in the 90s and early 2000s, Freaked with Alex Winter, which is kind of a remake of Freaks. Or at least it's loosely inspired by it. But yeah, this was like, you know, just a pretty wacky era. And this movie got a budget. You know, this is the kind of comedy.
It went over budget, as a matter of fact, too.
Yeah, it's the kind of comedy that has so many practical gags in it that, you know, just we'll get into it. But I just wanted to say that my background with this film was, as I just mentioned, HBO. So my dad would like watch certain movies on HBO a lot whenever they were on. Wayne's World, Coming to America, Trading Places, Being There with Peter Sellers. What else? This, for sure, and Freaked. There were like certain movies I remember seeing on TV all the time, and he's watching them, you know? So I would just watch along with him sometimes. And I have a very distinct memory of eating Haagen-Dazs cookies and cream ice cream in a bowl on the couch while watching this with him for the first time. And like, it would air fairly regularly during the day and whatnot on the weekends, like on a Saturday on HBO. So this is a movie I saw a bunch growing up. Never owned it. It would just play on TV a lot. And for years, I had completely forgotten about it. And then on some podcast I was listening to maybe 10 years ago, someone brought up Tupac and Digital Underground being in a movie that was like really whacked out with Dan Aykroyd, and all of a sudden it kind of like, you know, this thing that I had memory hold just got brought back up to the surface.
Yeah.
And I seeked out a copy of Nothing But Trouble. Now, up until very recently, like 3 years ago, this thing was only available on a full frame DVD.
Yeah.
There was no widescreen restored copy like we have now. And I should mention, Mel and I watched the print of the 2021 Scream Factory or Shout Factory Blu-ray. So it's the most pristine print that I've ever seen this film presented in. The audio is a little wonky. The audio on the DVD is actually better. Something fucked up.
I didn't notice that.
There's something fucked up with the audio, like mixing. You kind of notice it more in the beginning than when things get rolling. But
okay. I mean, I was wearing headphones, but
definitely the best visual presentation of this film I've ever seen. maybe not the best audio, but nevertheless, this was my first time actually watching it. You know, I've had the Blu-ray for like 2 or 3 years. I haven't watched it yet, so I haven't seen the new print. And I was very happy with the new print. I think it really captures, you know, like some of the visuals in this film. I guess we can just get into, at first, what is this film about? You know, it's about, I gave the brief summary in our intro, but how would you describe this film? It's these people, a brother and sister, kind of side characters, and then what Chevy Chase and Demi Moore is a like a businessman.
They're like
and
financiers,
client.
You know, well, no, a lawyer and like a finance guy.
She's a client of his.
Well, I mean, they meet in that elevator for the first time. Right. Like, they don't know each other at the start of the film. They live in the same building. But
they're going to Atlantic City.
Yeah, because she convinced him. Like, you want to talk about how, like, yeah, there's going to be some makeup and some situations that are bizarre and surreal, but just like certain shit, like her asking to borrow his car when they like just met in the elevator. Like, that's surreal. Like, yeah, she wants to go to Atlantic City because I think someone she represents as a lawyer, like,
someone she represents
that she didn't wasn't aware of. And it's like, it fucked her over. And I mean, star-studded cast, like you mentioned, John Candy, Dan Aykroyd, Demi Moore, Chevy Chase, they're all in this shit. And I got to say, that's why I was so shocked, like, to read that people hated this. Because, I mean, we preach on the show, like, in our music, don't be a sample whore or don't be a feature whore. Like, don't automatically say album or whatever is good because of who's featured on it, the personnel. But I got to say, all of these stars carried their weight to me in their own special ways. And from the beginning, I mean, here's the thing about Chevy Chase. Like, I've read a lot about, I guess, his reputation in Hollywood, because I personally feel like I became acquainted with him in his role on Community, which is a storied, rocky thing between him and the creator, Dan Harmon. And like, he was just an asshole to everybody. Like, that's the story of him. He's like an asshole, but very talented. He has a magnetism. You know, he sells this character, this dry wit, this like humor, this like, you know, I'm just effortlessly cool, right? And so that's his gimmick.
That's definitely the reason my dad was watching this movie, because he's a Chevy Chase mark.
Okay.
For sure.
And I feel that because when he's on screen, he's money, admittedly.
When I was a kid, like, he would have me watch Funny Farm and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He thought that Chevy Chase was very funny. So,
yeah,
you know, I don't think I appreciated Chevy Chase as much back then as I do now.
I consider myself a fan of him, even though he may be a complete dickhead. He's his job. He's good at his job. And
yes, he is. And
you know,
he had me laughing through this movie. A lot of times his style of humor is, you know, like when he first meets Demi Moore in the elevator and she leaves, he's like, thanks for something,
the espresso maker and the bag of shit. I gave that a flat 8. That joke, that isolated joke, I popped. Okay.
A very deadpan sort of delivery that I appreciate.
He's quick-witted. He's quippy, you know?
Other
and it's
than
not
some
forced.
Stuff in the third act of this film when things start going really crazy and off the rails, it seems like he always has a retort or an answer to things, even in some of the wackier situations.
Like, for instance, like, the granddaughter, okay, her big ass, is walking him down a hall, and like, they don't even call attention. I mean, he's Chevy Chase's character, was it Chris? He's the one that calls attention to it, but it's never discussed after that. But it's like a hallway full of like clocks. And he makes a remark. He's like, what did he say? He's like, you haven't had the time. My watch is kind of slow.
Yes.
You know, and it's just, I think it's different as someone who's well acquainted with like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how they ran quippiness into the ground. You know, it's not like that here. There was a time and a place for everything, and it always landed for me. You know, like as a Marvel mark, I can say like it doesn't always hit. It feels forced. It doesn't feel forced here. And just on that real quick, because we talked about this briefly in the car. The way they talked about this movie at the time was like it was slop. It was like a travesty, a complete affront to film sensibilities. And I'm watching this and I'm like, how can something this like whacked out and colorful be bad?
I think
it may not be your speed.
People took all of that for granted back then.
They did, right? I guess because that was kind of what was going on at the time. You talk about
most
like,
movies, by the way, were colorful and well lit and well shot, even quote unquote slop.
Yeah, so. I mean, they all had character, and it's like there was care. You talk about those practical effects, and I mean, I saw in that video you sent, like Ebert was talking about, like, oh, these grotesque characters, like they're not funny at all.
We love the grotesque characters.
Yeah, we love that. We love the phallic nose. We love the makeup.
Oh, look. So they are on their way to Atlantic City, and they go through this place called Vulcanvania. I don't know if it's supposed to be like upstate New York or New Jersey or something, but they're coming from New York and they're going to Atlantic City, only to pass through this really rundown, strange-looking town called Vulcanvania. Mm-hmm. And the chief constable, who's like the police chief, played by John Candy, starts following them because they're speeding.
Yeah, they are speeding. Well, no, initially he ran a stop sign.
Yes.
But it's a trap,
so...
Yeah,
so, I mean, it really isn't going to go any other way for them, as you'll find out when more gets revealed here. But once they've attracted the attention of him, and he attempts to pull them over, all of a sudden, Chevy Chase decides to get bold and try to outrun the cop.
That's when the wackiness of the film truly starts, because it's pretty grounded before that point.
This is about like 15 minutes into the movie, and from that point until the end, and it's about an hour and a half, so for like an hour and 15 minutes, this thing is all gas, no brakes, no pun intended, and they're throwing up like, 120 on the dash or something. He's really trying to outrun him. But John Candy, he has, like...
his car's kitted out with fucking nitrous, bro.
All this crazy... It's like the Batmobile meets Wacky Racers.
The second he flips that switch, that was when I was officially like, what kind of movie is this going to be? So
because he flips the switch first, and we get like the flames coming out the back, and he gets like, rocket boosted basically. But when he turns the other switch, the detour switch, and just a wall comes like a
Looney Tunes ass wall. Emerges from the ground.
Yeah, just from both sides, like two halves become a hole, and the wall just becomes the road gets blocked by this wall with the detour sign in it, and that detour sign is the real trap into this place that they're going to end up in. So he's driving the car, he has to do the detour. By the way, you see like the detour wall separate once they go down the detour path. Mm-hmm. It's very cool. But it's the first indication that, like, all right, this movie has some like wacky elements in it, kind of like a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah.
And when it's all said and done, they end up being blocked by another officer who's kind of waiting for them.
The gung-ho lady. She's all for it. She's
pointing a gun at them. And at this point, they have to stop. So they end up in the custody of John Candy's character, who is one of the more decent characters in the movie. And I think that should give you a gauge of how fucked up everybody else is in this movie.
He was the only, other than Chris, like, he was the straight man. Yeah, he was with the family that we'll soon meet, but like you can tell, even his initial interactions, like he's not that bad of a guy. Like he's fielding all of like the fucking barbs that Chris is throwing at him when he pulls him over. Like he's like, yeah, okay, man, just follow me and maybe you'll get off. Like he's not really trying to cause any trouble. You know, I know
Right.
this was nothing but trouble.
Obviously,
like,
he works for this crazy guy who we're gonna meet in just a moment. But yeah, they're forced to follow him to what is basically like the courthouse.
yeah, and
Just from the moment they arrive, there's like a drawbridge that comes down, and when the drawbridge goes back up, once they've crossed over it, you know, it says like "enjoy your stay" on it. There's weird metal, kind of like worm snake.
it's like
looking,
a scrapyard sort of.
Yeah,
I told you on the phone.
You start seeing all of these like lawn ornaments, lawn jockeys, ceramic dolphins, Christmas decorations. It's very strange. Bunch of toasters. There's like an art installation basically full of like broken air conditioners and toasters.
Amazing
and,
set design. Just like,
yeah, I mean, this is from the practical effects in this movie to some of the set. I mean, a lot of the gags in this movie are based on some of these wacky sets, especially once they get into this house. So, you know, they open the gate up to them and they go in, and, you know, you see the initial reveal of the house. It's like, it's terrifying. I mean, it looks like, you know, the Psycho house,
folks,
or something like that.
No cap. You know, the famous or infamous Mel's dream from the Tyler, the Creator first listen. The house that we are introduced to is sort of what that house was like in my dream.
Yes, like, the Vulcanvania Courts and Schools building, which
the big house,
just looks like
the main house.
It's a completely dilapidated looking building, but it's like very tall and ominous looking, and it's surrounded by old stoves and sinks and things. I mean, there's like junk everywhere. And then they get into the house, and the foyer of the house kind of almost looks like the Crypt Keeper's house from the Tales from the Crypt
a little bit
intro. And they go into the first room when you walk in. It's like to the left of the foyer, and it's the courthouse, essentially. And once again, like, you get the very strange contraptions, like, you know, a wall full of badges flips around and turns into paintings, and the judge's bench kind of like emerges from the ground and moves up towards, you know, where you're supposed to stand to speak to the judge.
Yes, moving floors, trapdoors, bells and whistles. Folks, if you've ever been to the Haunted Mansion attraction at Disneyland, it's kind of like that. Like how strange this house is, like the different things.
And this is where it kind of becomes a horror movie, but it always is more of a comedy than a horror, for the record.
Definitely. And
it's not like Evil Dead where, you know, it's funny, but it's obviously a horror movie.
Right.
This is a comedy horror movie, not a horror comedy. And I think there's a difference.
There is definitely a difference, because I was telling you when they first arrive to this, like, this trap house, basically, I wrote my literal note, what the shit kind of fucking movie is this about to be? What is this Devil's Reject / Mad Max /
It is very House of a Thousand Corpses, you know?
You
like
know,
the way it's that classic old dark house setup.
Yeah, you know, but it's like, it's unsettling. Like, the shit is strewn about the yard, and you know, I'm intrigued immediately, because you already established, like, oh, this was like, they didn't really have a chance to avoid this. This has happened to many people. They got like gates open, and it's a trap. Like, they were gonna get preyed upon no matter what. So you have to figure out what that's about. But once they arrive, it's like, oh man. And I wasn't sure, like, is this gonna take a really dark turn, or is this gonna like remain a comedy?
It could have, and I think with this cast, it wouldn't have been well suited for that.
Right, because this is a comedic cast, and they carry the comedy, and I'm glad.
Mean, even when you see the judge from the first time, because at first, when he emerges in his chair at the desk that like rises up and moves, he's being blocked by a stack of books. But then when he pops up with a hula hula hula, a hula hula.
I said he looked like a coked out Palpatine. So yeah, he like it's some kangaroo court shit, you know, but like you have to be amused at this. You know, like it's a comedy horror because I remain amused. I will admit there's one part that we're getting to towards the end where my heart sank and I'm just like, no, I can't take this, you know, but we're getting there. It's a comedy, you know, with some grotesque elements and some horror elements.
Basically, what brings the movie into its central conceit is Chevy Chase, like he does with everybody at this point, starts mouthing off to this judge. Demi Moore tries to get him out of it, but he buries himself even more. And ultimately, you got to assume this is probably the way it's going to end up going for them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But he's heard enough, and he activates a trapdoor, and they all fall into a pit of, I don't know what they're like dog toys or
some kind of squeaky, squishy.
It's a very colorful pool of plastic, like rubber duckies and looks like dog chew toys and stuff. And, you know, we're off. I mean, this is really where things start to get crazy, crazy. So we're introduced now to another group of 4 who get pulled over by John Candy.
Oh, that fucking no jumper ass group of individuals. Okay.
Yeah, just so they're all fucking drunk and drugged up and shit. And, you know, it's interesting, though. When they get brought in, they get pretty much dispatched immediately. They get sent through what is called, what is it called exactly?
The bone scraper, or like the bone stripper, Mr. Dr. Bone Stripper. It's a roller coaster that leads them to death.
They get...
Mr. Bone Stripper, I wrote it down.
Yeah, so instead of throwing them in the trap door, he sends them on a conveyor belt that sends them on a door outside. And the next time you see them, they are in a roller coaster. So basically they get thrown into a roller coaster, and then Mr. Bone Stripper is what's meeting them at the end of the track. And what that is it's like a large, like twirly mustache, carny looking guy with a big purple top hat. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about some of the brilliant practical set decorations and set pieces and stuff here.
Yes, they had to design that specifically for like the movie, you know? You can't CGI
it's like
that.
His mouth is opened, and it's like made out of wood. It's like painted and everything, but his mouth area is open, and in its place of the teeth are these metal, sharp,
they look like
metal
meat
rods.
tenderizers.
Yeah, they're going up and down, and basically they're meant to turn you into human scrap and strip you, and then your bones shoot out of the back of Mr. Bone Stripper and hit a target that's on a metal, like, you know, what would you call these? Like, what they use on the outside of the speakeasy in Sinners, these metal slats, basically.
Yeah.
And a pile of human remains, just bones and spines and things.
Niggas is getting killed, but it still feels very wacky.
Because it's very Looney Tunes, these, like, you know, weird set pieces that they've invented. And speaking of weird set pieces, our original gang of Chevy Chase and Demi Moore and everyone, including John Candy and the gung-ho bailiff lady, are all now seated for dinner with the judge. And Dan Aykroyd, the judge, seated at the table. This is the first scene where we get a glimpse of the penis nose prosthetic that Mel mentioned. It's not... His nose isn't always a penis, but it is at least like 2 or 3 times.
There's some inconsistency that honestly adds to how, like, much of a fever dream the film can feel like at times. But yeah, you see the dick nose and you're like, okay. I'm not like a squeamish guy. I'm not easily queasy, like a gore, gross shit. But that scene with the dogs, the hot dogs. Okay,
Yeah.
it was fucking hilarious, but I was getting weak in real life. But they don't. That was when I had to write. They don't make movies like this anymore.
Well, it did remind me when she's watching him eat the hot dog, Demi Moore, that is. I was reminded of The Substance when she has to watch.
Right? Dennis Quaid's character, right?
Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
Eat the shrimps in the beginning of the film.
Wow. Yeah.
She's had to watch men eat disgustingly all throughout her career.
Poor Demi. That is definitely gross on the same level. But real quick though, shout out to Demi Moore. Listen, she was still bad in The Substance, honestly, but she was on time in this for sure. It's a young Demi Moore. Definitely. But her performance in this film. Here's the thing. I can see how some people would say it was like sort of like detached or bad, but I don't really think that. I think that maybe the editing is inconsistent. And I noticed, I don't know if you've noticed, there was a lot of like dialogue replacement or like voiceover ADR, happening. You mean? Yeah, ADR. Yeah. Throughout the film. Like it's very apparent, like towards the end when Chris is on the roller coaster. And he's like, saying things, but his mouth's not moving. Like,
yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, that was a little weird for me too, because usually his character hasn't reacted so, to be so frightened,
so vigorously, right? Yeah. To things. But yeah, there are moments in the film where like she's pretty like wound up. But then there's also moments where like you hear her say something, like when they first are in the chase scene with the police officer. Like she says, like in the most zanned out delivery, she's like, "Oh man, I just wanted to get to Atlantic City." That like popped the shit out of me because I'm like, "Is this bad acting or is this just?" But no, she's pretty good in here.
I didn't think she was bad. There were moments where I really liked her character, more so in the third act.
Yeah, definitely. She's turned up in the third act.
Yeah, as we get to know her more as a person, I guess, or we get to see her removed from this group of people.
She's a good person. She's a bit of a dick rider because I don't know if you notice, like whenever they're in like some sticky situations, she's always trying to appeal to their abusers.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, she's trying to, I think,
get them out of the fucking jail.
I think she's trying to utilize the sexual politics of a situation to maybe get herself out of something.
Yeah, like she kind of like, it's a weird scene where she blue balls Chris. Like I couldn't tell if she was fucking with him or if she was serious. And I was really confused because by the end they end up in Item. Like they, that trauma bonded them, I guess. But like,
yes, when
she like is kissing on him and she's just like, "Oh, you're nothing but trouble," and goes to sleep. I'm like, is she like, what was that about? But listen, like,
I pointed at the screen when she said, "You're nothing but trouble."
Oh, bro, listen.
But this movie should have been called Vulcanvania.
Absolutely.
I think it would have been more memorable to people because, remember, I told you, I had seen this movie a bunch on TV as a kid with my dad, and I just completely forgot about it for years. And I think it was because the name of the movie is Nothing But Trouble, which sounds like, honestly, just like a romantic comedy from the 80s of like, the John Hughes variety or something like that.
A romantic comedy or like a fucking slapstick comedy of some sort. It doesn't convey the wacky, surreal
proceedings in this film at all. Vulcanvania is a much better title, which was the original title of the film.
It should have stayed that. The YouTube video you sent me, like the guy's retrospective, I'm glad he spoke on it. This retrospective is
by Hats Off Entertainment, by the way, if you guys want to watch it.
Hats off to him. Great video.
It's called Nothing But Trouble is Not That Bad or something like that.
And he's right, okay? But I'm glad he made note of the title because I when she says it in that scene, it feels kind of like tossed. I'm like, they named the whole movie after that? Like, that was my note.
No, I think they literally, like, it was one of those, we're not going to call it this because they think that name is not going to sell.
Right.
What can we call this?
And he says, like, they named the movie after a throwaway line. This is what the guy on YouTube said. And I'm like, all right, I'm not crazy then. Because it felt like a weird thing to title it, given everything that's going on. But then I'm like, that was a mistake. Because in the 90s, I feel like, as opposed to now, I feel like as crazy as the world is, people still aren't receptive to strange things. Whereas then,
like Beetlejuice is something that like sounds normal to you,
right?
You know, like
if that was gonna fly, then yeah,
Valken, you gotta just go with it.
The Vania of it all, I think, would have sold it because you think like Transylvania.
Transylvania is horror.
Like,
you
go
know
with that. It's much more.
And then you see Chevy Chase, and you know, okay, it's not a horror movie; it's probably a comedy. Horror movie.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, another one from this time period
on that.
That just came to my mind: Haunted Honeymoon with Jeff Goldblum, and I think John Candy's in that one. Maybe not.
There you go. You know,
it's not my business because I'm here to do nothing but trouble. But yeah, they're sitting at this dinner table, and we get like another really cool set piece. The table,
the train,
like the middle of the table. So the table has like three I don't know how to describe it, but there's basically a toy train set that goes around
that borders the middle of the table, and then they eat on the outer third.
Yes, exactly. And it's got condiments and stuff in it, like ketchup and mustard and those little cornichon pickles and things like that. And look, Dan Aykroyd as this judge, he's telling them like,
mix up them condiments the way I do. And I am the anti-condiment man, so I'm gross the fuck out. He's got this gray, diseased, rancid-looking dick of a hot dog plopped on his plate, and he slathers it in like mayonnaise and mustard and ketchup, and he's just sloppily shoveling the shit into his mouth. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is just so gross in the best way. You know,
there's the, what is it, like the ants on a log? Like
the ants on a log.
With the peanut butter and raisins.
Well, that's the real life equivalent, but at this point, I assume it might have been real ants and shit. Like, it's never really expounded on, but like, there was like a surreal bent to this family, right? Like, they were living longer than they should have been, or at least the older guy. Like, they was on some immortal type shit, you know?
I mean, the drink is a can. Like a can.
Oh, the like fucking like gas can of Hawaiian Punch.
Hawaiian Punch, which he just punches like a spout into. He just like pushes this thing in there. Chevy Chase says something like, just like
a nice warm glass of Hawaiian Punch. This is great. Like that you need.
It's like, everybody loves a nice warm glass
coming off the road or whatever he said. And that popped the shit out of me because, that's a running meme now. It's like, no man, you throw a million. I got, that gorilla, like 100 niggas versus a gorilla. Somebody said 100 ice cubes versus like Hawaiian Punch. Yeah, it never gets cold no matter what. But I saw that and I'm like, yeah, they got Hawaiian Punch. It's already a dub, this fucking supper of theirs. But like, yeah, he's quipping on the Hawaiian Punch, even back in the early 90s. Like,
Oh, and who comes down the stairs but the judge's daughter, who's also played by John Candy.
My granddaughter is a man now. Yeah, John Candy.
And she is, if you've ever seen John Candy, she is a fucking hoss.
She's a mute, too. I love the performance, though. It's just like, because you get these little, like, whimpery... like, because she doesn't speak, but it's like
she can be very physical.
Yes,
she's the big of the movie.
She's the heavy. She's doing all the dirty physical work. She carries like Chris and Demi's character like in each hand, like up the stairs. Like it's like these characters are so colorful. Like there could be spinoffs on the individual characters. Like this whole family. It truly feels like the cartoonish, like Devil's Rejects family. Like the way you feel trapped on this compound is just like those Rob Zombie creations, but they're just way wackier, and they
it's
can
like
be reasoned
90s
with
instead
though,
of
truly.
2000s,
Yeah, and like as evidenced by like the group that came and fuck around and found out, they got like executed immediately. Chevy Chase's group, like, he was kind of hearing him out, but he's like, I'll deal with y'all later. Like, I'm not going to kill you right now, but like, whatever.
This judge's obsession with bankers, too, has me wondering, like, Vulcan, Vania, the bankers, there's like some kind of Nazi connection here that I don't feel like digging into.
Well, they had, in the past, it trapped an ex-Nazi. So they weren't Nazis themselves. Yeah, like it was when they were,
there's some kind of like
fascination
with it, and the
He
iconography and whatnot.
he really hated bankers for like selling him a bill of goods, like however many
Oh, right.
centuries
So
ago.
so apparently the reason why he's like got this thing against bankers is like they came to the house and they tried to put a lien on his family or something like that.
Yeah, they told him like I think I can't all the way remember it. At the very end of the film, like when they're doing that like newscaster thing and they're surveying the site and they're like all of this like what is like crude oil had risen up from the ground and it's like it's a gold mine of like oil. And I think that had to do with what he was at like the little backstory, the exposition. It's like, oh, it turned out that like it was worthwhile after all or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading this wrong, but like initially it seemed that like it was nothing. Like they didn't get anything. Like they got fucked over. So he holds this grudge against bankers.
Even though Chevy Chase keeps telling him, I'm not a banker, I'm a financial publisher.
Right. Yeah.
I write like a magazine about finance.
And it's like, fuck it, you're a banker. Okay, close enough. Like you deal with money. All right. I don't trust you, you know? And it's
something crazy's going on here, you know, and they've seen enough. They all try to make a run for it, and Demi Moore and Chevy Chase are caught. The other two, the brother and sister, escape.
The Brazilians, the Brazilianaires, they jump out the window.
they end up getting caught on the road by John Candy's character, not the sister or the daughter, but rather the police officer version, his male,
the good
character.
Cop, basically.
Yeah, and this cop essentially hears them out and helps them escape, and we don't see him again.
We don't. We really don't.
Until the end of the movie.
You get one scene where he's like packing his bags, and that's near the end too. And I didn't really think about it until I watched the retrospective. It's like, and then he's gone, like for the the rest of the film. And
so this guy, was like really like the conscience of this film, and now you're not going to see him again until the end.
Yeah. And I'm not really bothered by that because his arc was pretty much ended early on because you can tell he's not all the way invested in like, down with the family and their dealings and how they pull people over and put them to death.
When you start to see really the extent of how evil they really are, it makes less sense that he would be willing to continue to engage with them.
The rich Brazilians offer him a vacation. He's like, fuck this. Like, fuck this whole sham. Fuck this place and this killing. I'm out of here. And I love that for him, as they say. But that's evidence early on when like they're about to kill those people who fucked around and found out. And his like the girl cop, he's like, oh, where you going? He's like, I'm going outside. Like, I don't want to see this. She's like, oh, I want to see this. Like, she's all for it. So he's not with all this.
Right. So
yeah,
they do get caught, Demi and Chevy, but they once again try to escape the house, and they start going through a corridor where there's all these doors, and like one of them, there's like a bunch of bats on the ceiling.
Like
there's a bunch of bat shit everywhere.
Tombstone in there. There's like
lots of gags. This is like every 30 seconds you're getting another set piece gag here.
Yeah.
This is when one of the walls start to close in.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like really like Luigi's Mansion type shit. Like some of the gags here are very creative and fantastical. I love the creativity of it all. And eventually they discover that room where it's Jimmy Hoffa's still missing, all these IDs,
it's implied they got Hoffa, that they're behind the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa, like this family, which was great.
Another gag I think I might have skipped over in this timeline, the painting,
that fake eyes in the painting gimmick,
the daughter, John Candy as the daughter looking through the eyes of the painting.
I got that
was another one.
Yeah. Just so many classic gags and just like inventive things for the movie. Like, that room of like, it was like literal bat shit, right? Like it was like bats in a mound of shit. Like, and there's two grown people, Demi and Chevy, they're going down slides, like separate, like they're separated.
So they end up, once they leave that room where all the evidence is basically of the people that have been potentially kidnapped by this family.
Mm-hmm.
They see maybe the only way out is a slide, a dusty metal slide that goes down. Of course it goes down. It's a slide, but they go down and yeah, they get separated. So the slide forks into two separate paths.
Mm-hmm.
And Chevy...
She's led, I think, outside.
Yeah, she goes outside into basically a pile of bones. But next to the pile of bones is a crack in the wall that gives him a look into the bedroom of the judge.
The bedroom quarters of, the old stanky judge. And you see him like getting ready for bed, and he literally takes his nose off, like in the mirror.
He has no nose, like the Crypt Keeper. He has no nose. He takes his hair off. He has no hair. He has a massive skull. And he has one leg because he takes one of his legs off.
Yeah. What do you say?
Chevy Chase
I lost that one in France or something.
He's completely baffled by everything that he's seeing. It seems like, something supernatural is happening here. Like, this is not like a normal human.
Right.
And things are like it's horror now, you know?
Yeah. And I love that it's never fully explained what the deal is behind this ancient man. It adds to how whacked out it is.
Takes the nose off and has no nose, but he also has a penis nose in addition to his regular nose. And all the noses or lack thereof look fucked up.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Demi Moore is, she ends up outside, which is like kind of a junkyard, scrapyard area. And this is where we first get introduced to Bobo and Lil Devil.
The twins. Yo, speaking of noses, the design on those twins.
I'm obsessed with them.
They look like the Michael Jackson Speed Demon music video cartoons come to life. Like, so they are so crazy looking.
Now, I can't... Obviously, we're on audio, so you guys will just have to envision it. But I'm going to send these to you in Signal right now.
Okay. Let me pull up that Signal. Yeah, they got these, like, bellies jiggling, and, like, they look like melting massive pounds of flesh. It's borderline body horror. Like,
it
how they
really
look.
is. I mean, they're massive, but also there's a lot of flab and, like, I don't know how to describe it, like droop to it all.
Oh, this is money. The toys. Moulz just sent me, like, so they made toys of the twins.
Yeah, and in 2022 at Monster Palooza, there's a company called the 3D Printing Department.
Uh-huh.
And they made 50 of each of these guys.
Collector's items.
Yeah. Obviously, these are not officially licensed items.
Right.
I don't think this is the type of film that would receive officially, licensed items. So I appreciate this very much. It's the Nothing But Trouble, Bobo and Lil Devil. They're like action figures, basically.
They even went through the trouble on the back of the box to, like, have the still from the film. Like, shout out to them.
With Demi Moore, with them. And there's differences between the two of them. Like, one of them has the smelting thing. It's like the little
because they're, like, doing foundry work when we were first introduced to them.
And the other one has a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
I love Bobo and Little Devil. Like, I'm great. A Bobo and Little Devil mark, bro.
They're great, and they're pretty innocent. Like, they're not like killers like that because they're
really nice.
Character.
They're so sweet, and they form a bond with Demi, and that's really where I grew to like her character more.
Yeah, because she's not like. I mean, she faints. She is. I can't say she's not.
She's doing that thing again, though, where
she's dick riding.
She's acquiescing to their, like, desires within reason, and really they just want a friend.
Yeah, and she can, like, she always appeals to the heart of these characters and doesn't want to, like, rile them up, which is a smart play. Don't get me wrong. Like, when I say dick riding, I probably would have done the same shit. Like,
but they save her from getting killed by
the granddaughter. She's gonna, like, toss her into, like, a pit of fire. I think that they were doing the foundry shit in.
Or not the grandmother. What is she?
The granddaughter.
The daughter.
the granddaughter of the old judge.
Yeah, the granddaughter.
And they're like, no, don't do that. Like, we want to play with her. And yeah, like they're playing cards later on when she's in the cage, and like, of course, when they get away,
have the
like,
minds of children.
And, yeah, they're they're babies because like they say later on, it's like, oh, I think I like made a mess in my diaper or something, you know, like they are disgusting, but you have to love them. They're lovable, you know.
Yeah, they really are, and.
Oh, I know you pop for after this. You can see us do our tag team wrestling show, okay?
You know I popped for that.
That was great.
And at the same time, you know, Chevy is basically put in a position where he has to marry the granddaughter to survive.
Yeah. Oh, well, here's the thing. So what plays into that is before that happens, they arrive. Digital Underground shows up.
So Digital Underground show up.
Oh, my goodness.
That's where I want to take a break for a second. I have audio here. It's from an interview with Tupac's manager, who was also, I think, Digital Underground's manager at the time.
Okay.
And he's discussing Pac joining Digital Underground and what it was like filming this movie.
Oh, you gotta love that. All right, let's check this out. It's the interview that we need right now in this moment. Here it is.
You know, Tupac started doing a verse here and there, and then when it was time to do another song, it was just kind of again, you know, just like me in management, him as an artist and a rapper is natural for him to be in the next song that was going to be a single, which was same song.
Okay. Yeah. That movie that song was in. Okay. That was the strangest goddamn movie in the world, okay?
Nothing but trouble, yeah.
That movie was a nightmare in real life. I mean, if you had to live in that situation, them two little fat-ass, ugly Michelin tire-looking sons of bitches in diapers, okay? The doctor, the judge with the dick nose, okay? The crazy-ass elevator that shot you, shot you downstairs into a dungeon of license plates and bones and shit. Man, that's a nightmare. That's literally a nightmare. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The city that is sitting on top of, I don't know, mines or iron fields or whatever it was, and it just was one of the movies. I like it.
That's right,
but it's not a movie I watch at nighttime.
I'll tell you, man, that was my first experience on a major motion picture, and it was a great experience because I believe they spent $30 million on that movie back then. That was a lot of money, and I think I always looked at it as Warner Brothers appreciation to Dan Aykroyd.
Okay,
here's some money, do whatever it is you want. You've made us so much money, do what you want with it. And all his friends came and were in the movie with him.
Okay. John Candy, his sister, or something like that. Daughter or something like that. She wouldn't see this. And the crazy ass bailiff. But it was just so offbeat. It made it for a good movie. But like I said, it was just shy. I wouldn't call it a horror movie. It wasn't a horror movie. But it just was some weird shit, you know. If you ever experienced that in real life, that's some shit that'll fuck you up. You need to.
I never thought about that because obviously I've seen the movie, but I was also on the set of the movie. So when you're on a set of something, it has a whole different vibe than when you actually see it. So I didn't even look at it. But a lot of the shooting was at night, and but it was a crazy time.
I mean, guys, that Dan Aykroyd, his character was a city slicker or something coming through town, got pulled over, and then he became the judge. Anyway, man, it was a crazy ass movie. It's probably on Netflix or Hulu or someplace. Check it out. It's called Nothing But Trouble. And when I saw Tupac's part in that movie, we hadn't spoken in a while at that time. You and I hadn't spoken during that time period. I didn't know your relationship to Tupac or Digital Underground at that time. I said, that dude is pretty good. Okay, that dude is pretty good. That was interesting, especially was he? No, because Shock played the keyboard, played the organ.
Keyboard,
the organ. Yeah. Anyway, man, it was a movie. When you saw him, Tupac, taking flight, how did that sit with the rest of the fellas?
Oh, they loved it. The one thing about Digital Underground, they were one big family, and still are one big family.
Okay.
So there was no jealousy. There was none of that. It was all love, all hope and appreciation for everyone to be successful.
Okay.
And everyone was rolling back then. So that was always his trajectory, was to be a solo artist. It was never really to be part of a group. He ended up being part of a group, but his trajectory was always to be a solo artist.
I never heard him diss Digital Underground. I remember him saying it one time. We heard him say one time that when he was with Digital Underground, he would literally dance and do a melodic dance in his drawers just to have some place to sleep at night. I heard him say it on a interview one time. I appreciate that and respect that by him saying that, because sometimes people forget where they come from. Yeah. And he never did. And I think that's a Gemini trait. Being that I got to say this again, being that he and I share the same birthday.
You do.
Who are you managing now, man? Are you managing anybody now?
No, you can cut it off now.
Okay. All right.
He said Pac never forgot where he came from. I think he literally did.
Oh no. Tupac Shakur, you're from New York, bro. Yeah. Vince Russo on the Tupac trajectory. That was like a review within a review, because
the interviewer was really geeking over this movie. But so Chevy's caught, and he's basically given the ultimatum: you got to marry my daughter by the judge, or you know what's going to happen to you. Yeah, you were going to go and Mr. Bone Stripper is going to be introduced to you.
Yeah, and I mean, what's interesting though is like this is after they have their little like skirmish when like he steps in his bedpan, which was gross. Like they're fighting in his bedroom.
Yes, but
it's because Digital Underground's arrival that he's pulled away from that, and they were just speeding. And like they emerged from this hearse. They were in a hearse.
Yeah, they come in a hearse. Tupac's with them.
Yeah, and they all file out, and Humpty's like, that's one like some Peckerwood cop or some shit, like the girl cop. They get in there, and the guy is like, oh, some kind of musicians, right? He's like, yeah, we're a rap band, or what he says. And he's like, well, play something, and they play same song.
Yes, with Tupac pretending to sing
like mouth, which is hilarious because he's not singing in the song, but in the movie,
they don't get to his verse in the movie,
right? And if you didn't know any better, you would think he was singing all around the world, same song. Yeah, it's great.
Even the Dan Aykroyd character, this judge, does Shock G's piano solo.
He does the piano solo, pop the shit out of me. They're vibing with it. They're like, yo, we this old man. They're all digging the music.
This is what I want to say about the movie. And I mean, Dan Aykroyd talked about it in that documentary clip I sent you about working with Digital Underground for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love how this is a movie from 1991. Keep in mind, hip-hop is still being treated like it's a fad by a lot of white institutions around this time.
Mm-hmm.
I like that this movie shows respect to hip-hop in 1991.
Right. Gunshot for that, because absolutely, that's a great point. It legitimizes this as a genre, them as entertainers, and according to Dan Aykroyd, it was a great experience. And, I'm glad I heard the EP first before the movie, because I got the added pop of how Tie the Knot was incorporated into the film.
When the John Candy character of the granddaughter comes down in her dress to marry Chevy Chase, we get a little bit of Tie the Knot from this EP.
Yeah.
Tie the knot, tie the knot.
Exactly. And I'm just like, it's great because listening to Dan talk, like, I'm pretty sure they made those songs specifically for the movie, but to me, they work outside the context of the movie.
I don't think they made same
song. Tie the knot. Yeah,
so
for sure, tie the knot.
Same song was probably made to make a record, like to make a hit record, right?
Yeah.
But because it became essentially the official theme song to this movie, it's even the song that plays when the credits roll. It's, video even has Dan Aykroyd in it, and clips from the movie Nothing But Trouble. It's like the lead single from Nothing But Trouble, in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the end of Tie the Knot, the song on the EP, they said, like, hey, this is for the movie,
come on, guys, this is for the movie, man. Like, and that's even greater, knowing, like, I'll say, y'all know me, I'm like promotional rap male,
Yeah.
They have the spirit of that in this song. They fucking crushed it. Like, to me.
I
like,
love this scene. I remember this scene so vividly from my childhood. It's
great.
Not the first time I interacted with Hib, because I had experiences before this. But this is one of those moments, those like foundational moments that made an impact on me.
Yeah, Hib Hob is a real thing.
I've never seen anything like this in a movie to this day, where it's like, here's a new relevant hip hop artist or group to perform their newest song in this movie.
You know what the best comparison would have been? If in the early 2010s, Odd Future was like in a horror movie and given like a chance to do 2 songs and like, shows the whole group. Like they get that little showcase. Like,
yes,
they got put over in this film. It's not like a brief scene. They perform twice.
And they're in the movie as themselves, not as a new character. Like, this is, as a promotional vehicle for Digital Underground, fucking massive.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, shit. Morris Day in the time, like, they were in Purple Rain. I don't even think they were referred to as, like, their actual performing group. I could be wrong, but it's like, no, Digital Underground's in there as themselves, which is great promo. I mean, you gotta love that. And I gotta say, like, I mean, he didn't have many speaking parts, but he spoke. Shot G was a really believable actor. Shit. Like, there's a scene where they're waiting on their judgment from the judge, and like they're all like with bated breath, like staring. Like, they look honestly like nervous. Like, I was looking at Pac's face, I was looking at Shock G's face. I'm like, yeah, they look like their fate is hanging in the balance. And I love that they got off, which showed that like this family can be reasoned with. It's like, okay, whatever, you're free to go. But at the same time, you have to consider maybe they were only free to go because this old man was like, I can use them to like be the musical guest at this wedding for my granddaughter,
Yeah.
Because it's like, you can do a favor for me,
Well, the wedding doesn't go as planned.
It doesn't. Well, it does. And then they leave, and you remember Chevy Chase scared is like, hey, y'all, save me. And he's like, oh, you'll be all right, man. I was nervous at my wedding, too. Like, they leave. And, of course,
it doesn't matter because Chevy Chase is sent on the roller coaster.
Yeah, for breaking the granddaughter's heart, for not having his heart all the way into the wedding,
Yes. And right when you think he's going to get chopped up by Mr. Bone Stripper, he's like fighting against it. This is where you were talking about some of that ADR.
Yeah.
Sounding crazy.
Absolutely.
Like the axle rod that's kind of powering
the belt that's powering
the
the belt snaps.
Like the axle rod melts off the handle and the belt snaps and he ends up going through the chute without getting bone stripped.
Yeah. And you cheer because like he's the protagonist at this point. I'm glad he escapes. And this is how they get to like that final, I guess, arena.
Showdown.
Yeah, it's like a little, almost like a coliseum of like scrap and metal and weird ornaments and shit.
It's kind of like at the beginning of Nightmare 4, Dream Master, with the junkyard.
Yeah.
It's like a junkyard
where he wakes
arena.
up in the thing, and it looks great reference.
Very similar style to that. and Demi Moore is chained up with these like blades above her from like a big. It's just all, you know, it's very kind of like post-apocalyptic looking, and Chevy Chase saves her right in the nick of time as the foundry explodes, as they run away from it, and they run through like these large like lumberjack. Like,
I screenshotted that. They're very odd, like gigantic,
large
things.
Wooden lumberjack things, like
which
giant
you only
lawn
see
ornaments.
once, and that's a testament to how much care was put into this movie. It's like they made those large fucking weird things for just this one shot. I feel as if you would not get that these days.
You wouldn't. And they escape on this train that's coming
on the way to the
Demi
city.
And Chevy, and
the twins are waving goodbye to Demi, like,
and you know, they return at the police station. And Demi Moore and Chevy Chase decide, like, we're gonna take you all to Vulcanvania and show you what's been going on there. So like, they got the military, they got like the fucking National Guard, they're
wearing police jackets, like,
yes, they're wearing police jackets. Demi Moore's got a baseball cap on, and you know, you'd think this is gonna be
I didn't. I knew. I could sense it. I could feel it.
So they've all got their guns pointed at, you know, the courthouse, and Chevy and Demi walk up to the front porch, and the camera shows all these people pointing guns, and you just got to think, like, you know, am I safe in this moment? And they go to open the ring the doorbell, and the judge opens the door,
pretending to be like an old man, like,
he's with the granddaughter, and they're acting completely oblivious to what's going on. But right when Chevy Chase and Demi Moore turn around, it turns out the whole police force and National Guard are with the family.
The ties run deep. They're in cahoots.
Yes.
I knew it, though. You know me, paranoid fucking Mel. I could tell, because, you know, obviously there's more time in the movie, but it's like, if they're rich enough to have all these roller coasters and gadgets and guns and shit, and the way they set up like that trap of a city to lead victims to their complex, you think they don't have like the town right next to them or like the town over? Like, they're in on it, of course. And he says, like, you know, because he's like, you know, we brought the police, you're not getting out of this. And what does he say? He's like, well, you know, you might want to, there's he's like a rat trap behind you or like a nest. And that's when they turn around and the cops are like, you know, grinning. Like,
yep,
we brought, like, you idiots, you came back to the site of your demise. Like, there's no way out of this. And like, it's really just the, what's the phrase? Deus ex machina, whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That just happens to say, because they were fucked, bro. They were fucked. They should not have survived. And trust me, this is what I was alluding to earlier when I was like, it got dark. I knew they'd survive because I'm like, the tone of the film has been too wacky thus far. It would be so weird from a movie from 1991 that had been this wacky to end like this. It would have been a very like Tales from the Crypt ass ending if they died in that manner. They don't, but I hated that for them. And I was like, how are they going to get out of this? I don't even care that it was a fucking inexplicable way that they were saved. I'm just glad they were saved. So
basically it's an act of God.
Yeah. Like
this foundry and that they're, you know, that blew up and whatever they built this ground, you know, the grounds that they built this house
on. They
on.
Foreshadowed it earlier when they're at supper and the table's like rumbling and they're like, oh, it's the molten lava or whatever underneath the thing. It's like,
almost like appears to be like an earthquake, but of like much more just centered on this one area.
Yeah, you know, and that's what saves them. The house like crumbles. The old girl, the cop that's way too fucking aggro, she was on the damn outhouse. She gets like sucked into the ground. All right, I popped. It was great. I'm glad they survived. But even still, you get like that Freddy Krueger-esque ending, which I admit I love.
Well, you get a happy ending first for the Brazilianaires and John Candy as the police officer. They're in Brazil John Candy is now their personal security detail.
And he's dating the sister. Like, he got
Yes.
himself a sweet ting. He's fucking wearing a suit. He's living the life in Brazil.
And I don't know if you noticed, they both grab a handful of ass, the sister and John Candy, when they're walking with each other.
I noticed her grab his ass. Did he grab hers?
Yeah,
Hey, well,
yeah,
shout
they both
out,
went for it.
shout out my nigga Gucci. Okay, shout out my nigga Candy.
They both
okay?
went for it.
Yeah.
Candy was dripped out.
He's
in that
flea.
like Fantasy Island looking suit.
It was amazing. He was flea.
And then we cut to, Demi Moore and Chevy Chase are a couple now.
Yeah.
And
And he's having a bad dream. He's singing Tie the Knot in the tie the knot. And he wakes up and she's like, you're having a nightmare. And she like kisses him and she's off to like the bathroom or whatever. But then the news story comes on about, the molten lava explosion or whatever happened. And they're talking about, the oil under the ground. And then there's like one of the surviving members and he turns around and Chevy's like, oh no, because it's the old man. And he's like,
he's got his dick nose in again.
He's got the dick nose and he's like, well, we'll be okay. We're going to go stay with my granddaughter's husband in New York, and he's like, see you soon. And he's holding the ID because, they were collecting the IDs. And Chevy Chase pulls the complete fucking Looney Tunes move and jumps through the wall. Like the body imprint or whatever, the highlight is like in the wall. Whacked out movie. And here's the thing. I'm okay with that guy surviving because I feel it's a very 90s ending. Like, I feel he'll be okay. You do have to wonder, I guess they were legally married, maybe. I knew that was going to come back up. I had a feeling it would. But it's like, hey, it's cool. It's a wacky movie. It's a wacky ending. Him and Demi will find a way out of this.
It's ultimately a happy ending.
Yeah.
But it maintains, I think, just the overall zaniness, Looney Tunes elements of this whole thing.
How could you, you can have a taste in a film. Maybe this isn't funny to you. You're grossed out by shit. You're not, but like this, I don't know how this could be looked at as #bad. This is why we use a rating scale of enjoyment. I enjoy myself a lot.
I mean, look, I'm not here to talk about film theory in relation to Nothing But Trouble, but what I'll say is I really enjoy this film. I always have. And I will say this. The reason I think it's objectively not bad is because you can tell a lot of love was put into the production of this film.
So much love. I mean, just the second that like train of condiments popped out of the dinner table, I'm like, somebody cared. Somebody.
It's a very fun movie to watch. So I think the hour and a half, it's like 94 minutes or something. It flies by.
Like just watch it for the set. Watch it to see the condiment train. Watch it to see the clips from Chevy Chase. Watch for the dick nose. Watch for the twins. Watch for the roller coaster. Watch for the music, the digital underground of it all. Like,
there's other good music too. You get Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, "Big Girls Don't Cry" in one of the scenes.
Oh, when it's the literal needle drop, right? Like they drop the needle on the vinyl. Yeah, like it's such an entertaining film. Like I don't see how you could think it's bad. Like maybe not be for you, but hey, folks, check it out. I mean, we didn't spoil it, but check it out. You still need to see it for yourself. Like. You gotta see.
I honestly think even with this isn't the type of movie where spoiling it is really going to ruin the movie in any way.
No, you still need to see some of this shit for yourself. Like this.
You got to go through all the traps of this house. Like that's what's really fun about this movie is you're constantly being jettisoned from one area to another, and everything is so lovingly crafted. Just every minute there's a new visual gag to marvel at.
Yeah. It's a treat. It's a delight. It's a visual delight. The performances are so spirited. Like, that's the thing about, you want to talk about bad movies. I feel like a movie's bad when the people performing don't even feel like they want to be there or like they don't give a shit. That can't be said for this movie. They're having so much fun.
This is a bad movie in 1991.
Right.
And Burt Wonderstone is a bad movie in 2014 or whatever. And one has a lot of love and care put into it, and one of them just
felt like a studio comedy
that
got pumped out with no love. It's just like a fucking AI generated studio comedy.
Yeah, that's slop. Okay, this is not slop.
This can't be slop. Can't be. Check it out, folks. Shit, I might have to set up that damn. If I end up rich, I'm gonna get me one of them tables with a train on it. It ain't gonna. I'm not the condiment man, so it ain't gonna have condiments, but it's gonna have something else on there. Like that was just
energy drinks on it.
Oh shit! Oh, listen, I'm getting a physical next week. I didn't fuck my body up all that caffeine. No, it won't be energy drinks. It's probably gonna be like damn. Maybe I have some hot honey going around the table. You know, shit like that.
That's a condiment.
It is, but okay. Not to get into condiment rankings. Hot honey, it's been elevated. Hot sauce, elevated. Okay, better than ketchup and mustard and mayonnaise and that bullshit. Okay, but yeah, check it out, folks. Great film.
Mustard has its place.
I've never. I can tolerate it on McDonald's cheeseburgers because it's like condiments
can't eat
there.
It on a burger.
I can't eat it on real burgers. I can eat it on McDonald's burgers.
Like a New York City soft pretzel with mustard, or like a New York City deli sandwich, like a turkey sandwich with mustard, or a hot dog with sauerkraut and mustard.
Oh shit. Well, hey, different strokes for different folks, but folks, I mean, we didn't walk through it. I don't really know what else I could say. It's
hot dogs.
Yeah, hot dogs. Yeah, it's fucking folks. I'm obsessed with the train. Like, I get the way to describe it. Like you said, it's like fucking.
It's a model train set where the track goes around the table, and on top of the train it's like
a different selection of condiments.
Yeah, the train itself is like the condiment bay.
Yeah,
if you will.
You know, you go to a sushi spot and they have like the little belt. It's like that.
If you've ever seen those rotating belt places that serve sushi, it's a very similar concept, but the train makes it that much wackier.
It shoots pickles.
And there's all these little knickknacks and tchotchkes all over the film.
It shoots, like, we didn't talk much about the Brazilians, but like he had a line. Let me see. I wrote it down. And like that's what makes them jump out the window, because the pickle shoots the sister in like the head.
Oh yeah.
Like it fucking projectile shoots the fucking pickle.
Do you hear this, people? The pickle shoots the sister in that. Do you need to be sold on this anymore?
You know?
The pickle shoots the sister in the head.
Yeah, he said like sitting at a table with a pickle shooting train or something like that.
Sitting at a table with a pickle shooting train.
You know,
think
like,
about that. That's just like,
when's the last time you saw that in a film, folks? Oh shit, bro! Like the subtle comedy of like the big granddaughter like missing her chance, and she's like, "Oh darn!" Like trying to catch her condiment going around the thing, like, you know, like, and instead of just like getting up and getting it,
how quickly you have to kind of go.
It's like a trollish train, like it like herk and jerks and like scoots out, bro. It's folks, to describe this train. You bought them toys. I might have to get a model Nothing But Trouble train. It's like, if you watch that damn Attack on Titan, it's like Wall Maria, Wall Rose. It's like a fucking 3-layer table. It's amazing. I love that design. It's just, this movie, just watch it. Damn it. Watch it for the fucking quips. Okay? Watch it for everything. All right. Where's that drop? And this will probably be all I really have to say. All right. I got to the end of Nothing But Trouble, and I said,
I think it's great. This is better than anybody. Who is this?
Okay. There you go.
Well, this has been another Moulz and Mel at the Movies, and we look forward to bringing you Moulz and Mel at the Movies in the main line yet again in the future.
That's damn right. So I guess we can run the music.
We can run the music. Yeah. What do we used to say at the end?
What, you know, I mean, shit, I think we just like that was the review. You know, see you next time at the.
Oh, usually I'd be queuing up the next Moulz and Mel at the Movies.
Oh, right, but we don't know when that's gonna be.
All right, well,
but we know it can happen at any time. All right, but yeah, let me load this music back in, and you can take it away. Here you go.
Well, it's another week of Moulz and Mel at the Movies. We will return at a later date with another episode of Moulz and Mel at the Movies. But until then, check out the 1991 film Nothing But Trouble right now, online or on physical media.
I'll Google it real quick. I mean, yeah, so it's physical media for sure, DVD and Blu-ray. But it's on watch now free on Sling right now.
Watch free now on Sling.
Guys, watch right now. Go.
Hey, it's Mel from Rap Rankings. To hear the full episode this clip comes from and all of the other episodes, check the link in the description, stop by raprankings.com, or search Rap Rankings on your favorite podcast platform. And please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting to help us grow the channel and continue our journey as hip-hop's first and premier extreme podcast.